Welcome back to the cafeteria. Today I am making an Oreo cheesecake, so let's get right to it. I'm starting off by using 16 ounces of softened cream cheese. So there's 2 blocks of cream cheese, and you want to make sure that it is softened, because if it's not soft, you are not going to be able to mix it at all. It's going to be a mess, okay? So make sure you're using softened cream cheese. And to that, I'm going to add some heavy whipping cream, and I'm using 1 quart of heavy whipped cream, but I'm not going to use the whole thing in the mixture. I'm just going to keep adding it as I go. So I'm going to add a little bit, and you can see that I started with a small bowl, but baby, I knew better, so I switched it to a bigger bowl. And now I'm just going to keep adding heavy whipping cream until I get the texture, the consistency that I want, and then we're going to move on to the next step. Now, I'm going to add our next ingredient, and that's going to be a little bit of sour cream. Now, I did my research, and some people use sour cream, some people didn't. I'm going to use sour cream because I know sour cream makes things more rich. It gives it that little razzle dazzle. So, I'm just going to add a little bit sour cream, not too much. Now I'm adding 1 cup of sugar, and I'm only going to add half of it right now because I don't want to keep mixing and mixing, trying to get the sugar incorporated, and then my mixture is too dense once the cheesecake is done baking. So just add half now, mix it, then we're good. So I'm also going to add a few squeezes of vanilla extract, not imitation, pure vanilla extract. So as you can see here, I'm adding the rest of my sugar, and then we right back to mixing. So at this point, I've reached the texture that I like for my batter. So I'm just going to stop mixing it, and then I'm going to use a spatula to scrape around the sides of my bowl. I'm going to make sure I get down to the bottom, make sure I don't have any chunky lumps anywhere. So I've tasted my batter, and I'm going to add a little bit more of vanilla. At this point, I probably added about a tablespoon of vanilla extract. You want to make sure you taste it because we're going to add eggs later, and we cannot taste it with raw eggs in the batter. And once it's done baking, you cannot add more sugar, more vanilla. So taste it now before you bake it. So now I'm gonna add 2 medium eggs that I beat before I'm adding it to the mixture. And the reason that I beat them before is because I don't want to over mix the batter. That's gonna create a dense cheesecake, and we don't want a dense cheesecake. It's just not good. So I'm gonna fold them in and not stir them because I don't want to over mix the batter. And you don't want to go crazy. You just want to slowly, carefully fold in your eggs. And you're probably wondering why add 2 eggs to the cheesecake. And this is just going to hold everything together. Instead of adding something like gelatin, we're adding the 2 eggs to give it that nice firm set once it's baked and cooling down. Now, let's put this cheesecake together. So I'm going to start with my Oreo Pie Crust that I got from Walmart. And I have to be fancy, so I'm going to add more Oreos to the bottom of the pie crust before I add my batter. Now, while I'm making sure everything is nice and neat, my oven is preheating at 350 degrees. Before I stick my cheesecake in the oven, I'm going to place it in a water bath. So I covered my cheesecake with aluminum foil just to be safe. I don't want any water to seep through this pie crust pan. So I'm going to take some boiling water and fill it up just about halfway up the cheesecake, and this is going to help it to cook evenly and kind of avoid some cracks on the top. And then we're going to stick this cheesecake in the oven to bake for 45 minutes, and do not open the oven door, don't peek at it, let the heat stay in the oven. So moving on to the whipped cream topping, I'm just going to use the remaining heavy cream that I have, which is about 8 ounces, give or take a little bit. And I'm going to add to that some sugar and some vanilla extract. And then I'm just going to whip it and whip it and whip it until it's nice and stiff like whipped cream. how many Oreos am I gonna add to this Oreo cheesecake? A lot, okay? I'm gonna add a lot. So I'm gonna add some crushed Oreos to this whipped cream that I just made. So this is what the cheesecake looks like after it's baked in the oven for 45 minutes and chilled overnight. So moving on, I'm going to add the whipped cream topping to this cheesecake. I'm going to spread it out, make it nice and cute. Then I'm going to let it chill in the refrigerator, and then we are ready to cut it. So this is what the cheesecake looks like after it's been chilled and just hanging out in the refrigerator. So I'm going to cut me a nice big piece and I'm going to dig in. Here is an up close and personal view of this cheesecake. You see those layers, all those Oreos. Looks good and it tastes even better. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.